Hi and welcome to my tutorial for CAD Drawing 201. In this exercise we're going to be predominantly looking at using the grid and snap tool and we're going to be drawing this picture here. So I'm just going to hop over to my drawing. Okay, so here's our blank drawing, and what we need to do to start off is go down to the bottom here where you see these two little buttons. Now we're going to turn this one on and we're going to turn this one on. Now this will show our grid. Your grid may look different from mine, but I'm going to go in here and show you how to set the grid up. So what we want to do is come down and click on this little arrow. That's going to open up this. We'll go to Snap Settings. I'll just bring this back over onto my other window. Okay, so in our grid and snap settings, the main thing we want to look at in terms of what we're doing here is looking at the increments on our drawing. You can see we have 5mm increments. So it's going from 10, there's 25, 40. Okay, so all 5mm increments. So what that means is when we go through to set up our drawing, what we want to do is set the snap spacings to 5, which I currently have, and we'll leave the grid spacings to 10. Now I currently have mine for 2D model space for this dotted grid. I'm going to uncheck that and click OK. Now this should have a grid similar to yours. Now you'll probably notice that your grid extends beyond the limits. Now what I can do, if I go back into my snap settings, that's this little button down here where it's got display grid beyond limits. If I click on that, you'll see that expands out and I can zoom out, zoom out. Now the reason I like to limit it to the grid is because you'll see if I zoom out a little bit more, the grid changes. Now each of these squares are no longer 10 units apart. We're looking more at 50 units apart. Okay, now the way I can tell that is you'll see if I move my mouse down around here, just have a look at my coordinates down the bottom. What you're going to see is I'm close to 0. Now if I move along the x-axis, when I get to the next square, around about 48. So that's going to give me 50mm between these. So if I'm just zooming in forward a little bit more, you see it resizes. Okay, now that can trap a lot of people, particularly when they're starting off with, because they tend to zoom out here and then think that these squares are 5mm or 10mm when they're not. So what I like to do is come back down here into our snap settings and just uncheck that box. Click OK. What that's going to do is limit your grid to the size of your limits. Popping back to our drawing, what I'm going to do is we're going to start with this front view here. Okay, I'm going to start drawing a rectangle, then I'm going to come in and just draw these little pieces, that bit there and that bit there. Okay, so some of the information we need to know is how long is this object. Okay, so we can get that length from the plan view. You can see we have 80mm long. Okay, now how do I know it's in millimeters? Down in my title block here it says unless stated otherwise, dimensions in millimeters. Okay. So popping back over to here, how high is it? I can get that from my side profile, so I have 40. So we now know we have a rectangle that is 80 by 40. Okay, we come in 10 here. This little angle here, we know we have 25 across, so 25 minus 10, that's going to give us 15 there. And you can see this part just down in here is 15 down from the top. So that's pretty much a 45-degree angle, so 15 in, 15 down. From there straight down, here we go up 10 across, and from there we're 40 across. So just keep in mind all those measurements. Now you can flick back and forward between your drawing and your AutoCAD page to do this. Now I'm not going to do that because I know all these measurements off by heart. So let's start. So I'm going to go up and click on the line tool. Coming back down here, I'm just going to click on one of these major grid lines. Now the major grid lines are these slightly brighter lines that we can see here. I'm just going to click on one of those. Now you'll see if I move across in my ortho mode there, 55, 65, 75, 80, that's what I want there. I'm going to go up 40, back across 80, and down to there and enter to finish that. Now I'm just going to zoom in by rolling the scroll wheel forward and panning. So now you can see if you count the squares, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Going up we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So that gives us our 80 by 40. Now each one of these squares are 10 because that's what we set the grid to. So doing the next part, I'm going to go up and click on the line tool. But this time, instead of clicking there and then drawing a line across 10, I'm actually just going to move my mouse right where I want it and click to start. I then move across 5, 10, 15, and I'm going to come down 5, 10, 15, and just click over here. Okay, something went wrong there. I'm just going to undo that, and what's actually happened is I've got ortho mode turned on, so I'm going to make sure I turn ortho off. Now you can see I can draw lines and angles. So again, cross 15, down 15, click, then bring that all the way down to the bottom, click and enter to finish. We then do another line from this point here straight across to there, enter. Now if you want to speed up your drawing, what you can do is you can press the enter key if you want to repeat the line. What enter does when you're not in a command is repeats the last command. Now considering my last command was the line tool, what I can do is just press enter, and you can see down in the command line here it just says line specify first point. So I'm going to click there and enter. Now that distance in there is 15. We know there's 15 and that's 10. So in total that gives me the 40 millimeters. So I'm going to zoom back out now and let's go and have a look at the plan view. So in the plan view, again, we have a length of 80. We have a width of 40. This section in here is the 10 wide. We have 10 wide here, and we have 30. So that's going to make the distance from there to there, in a vertical sense, 10. Okay, and from there to there is this distance from here to here, which we know is 15. So knowing all that, that again is fairly easy to draw. So I'm going to go back to AutoCAD and start my line tool. Now this is an orthographic drawing, so what that means is all your views must line up. Okay, so we can't just go and put the plan view over here. It needs to line up with the front view. So I'm going to pretty much come up about 2 squares and I'm going to click and let's go up. So what are we looking at? Let's go. I'm just going to turn dynamic inputs on so you can see what's happening. So I'm just going to click there. Now if you get lost without, if you don't have dynamic inputs and nothing's showing up, you can just count the squares. Okay, so but here you can see it says 80. So I'm just going to click there, come down 30 across. Now here's one thing with my big long crosshairs. What I'm going to do is use my crosshairs to line up with this line here. I'm just bringing that straight up, click, then I'm going to come across in line with that one and in line with this one. Okay, click there, click and enter to finish. Now if I turn dynamic inputs off, I can toggle that on and off by pressing the F12 key. What's going to happen is when I draw lines, you're going to see if I click here and go up, I'm not getting any sort of information floating around on the screen. So again, I'm just going to be counting the squares. So I'm going to click there, enter to repeat the last command, and we're taking a line from this point up to there, enter. There we go. That's that view done. So now one last thing to do is this view just over here, so the left side view. So we're looking at the left side profile. Now this is left side profile because we are working in third angle projection. Third angle projection means that the left side goes on the left, the top on the top, right on the right, bottom on the bottom, as opposed to first angle, which we know is the left on the right on the left, the top on the bottom, and the bottom on the top. So it's all back to front. So let's have a look at here. We know that's 40 high and we know it's 40 wide. Okay, and we can get all the rest of the information from the rest of the drawing that we've already done. So I'm just going to quickly jump back into AutoCAD, start my drawing by clicking on the line tool. Again, being orthographic, we must line up with the other view. So I'm going to start, let's go maybe 4 across, click, and we're going to go up in line with that one, go across 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, back down, and you can click on the close button if you like to finish that. Click on the line tool again. We're lining up with this point here. So click, 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 enter. Repeating that, we're going to draw this line here. So that's coming across there. And we're then going to draw this line here, which in this view is this piece here or this line here. So we're just going to draw that in there. There is our 2D orthographic view drawn. Now what we need to do is create the isometric view. Now this is a 3D model, okay, so our isometric view without changing any settings is going to look slightly bigger than this, okay, but that's not a big deal. What we're just looking at doing is how we actually create an isometric view using grid and snap. Okay, this is going to be really handy for if you get into schematics and stuff later on. Alright, so with this, we're going to use all the same information, so in terms of the lengths, widths, all that sort of stuff. Now, the way we get our grid into isometric is to come back down and click on our grid settings or snap settings dialog box. And what we're going to do over here, where it's got snap type, we're going to change it from rectangular down to isometric. So click on that, and this is where you want to turn this into 2D model space for the dotted. Because what ends up happening is these rectangles become elongated and they're very hard to sort of follow. When it's dots, it's much easier. So if I click OK, there you go. You can see the crosshairs have actually changed angles. Okay, and now you'll see if we can follow these dots down, we've got vertical dots. We can follow the dots diagonally this way, which gives us 30 degrees, and we can follow the dots the other way, which gives us another 30 degrees. Okay, isometric is made up of 30-degree angles, or sort of 120-degree included angles if you look at it that way, but we can look at that a bit later on. Alright, so let's go and click on the line tool. Now the easiest way to draw an isometric view, particularly with something like this, is to start with the outside faces. So these are the outside edges, okay, the things that you see in these outside faces here, and work your way in. So I'm going to start with this face just here, okay. So I'm going to click maybe, let's say, probably about here, and we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 dots, and then we go across 10, so that's another dot. Remember, each one of these dots are 10 units apart. So then we're going to go across 5, 10, 15, and then down 5, 10, 15. Bring that straight back down in line with this one, and enter. So there's that side face drawn in isometric. From there, I'm going to draw this top L shape. Okay, so clicking on the line tool, starting there, we go across 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to come across 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dots. Back across 10. Bring that back in line, using the crosshairs to line up with this corner here. And back to there, enter. Repeating the line tool now, I'm going to draw this face. Okay, so from that point there, we know we come down 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to come across 3 for 30. So 1, 2, 3. Back up 10, across to there. Okay, easy done. Now here's the tricky part, just getting this little section in here. Now we know that's 15 across and 10 in. So the easiest way, we're going to start here. So if I click on the line tool, going from there, we're going to go 5, 10, 15. That takes us to that dot, and then we come in 10, which takes us to this dot. Click, click, enter. We're going to repeat that line from here. So line. So this time I'm going to go there, and I'm going to follow this up until my vertical crosshair lines up with that corner just there, and then I'm just going to bring that line across until it's parallel. Click, enter. Let's draw another line just from there to there. Okay, so we have all those outside faces done. All we have to do now is just fill in the inside sections. So what I'm going to do here is start with this line running down, and then straight down, and then one across here, and then we're pretty much done. So line tool. So from there, what I'm going to do is we can go 5, 10, 15 if we like, 5, 10, 15. And you can see the 30-degree crosshair lines up with the bottom corner of that face. So I'm going to click there and then bring that straight across. Enter. Repeating that command, I'm going to take a line from here, bring that across until the vertical crosshair lines up with the upper corner. Click. Bring that up to there. Click. Enter. And one more line from there to there. Enter. Okay, there we have it. That is our isometric view of the drawing. Well, that's about it for that drawing. I hope you found it easy to follow. Yeah, if not, please hit me up on the Moodle page or see me in class and give me your feedback, and we'll go from there. Thanks.